Hey everybody, Adam the Movie Guy here, and on this special episode, I'm actually taking a step away from my usual horror, action, and exploitation style films to cover something a little bit different. And when I mean by a little, I mean freaking a lot different. And that is an old Western Christian romantic drama movie, Redeeming Love, which came out in 2022. The movie is about a young woman called Angel, who was sold into prostitution as a child after her mother died, and is working at a brothel in the town of Paradise, where she's the most beautiful and popular prostitute in the whole valley. She meets Michael Hosea, a very devout and faithful farmer, who prayed to God to give him a wife to spend his life with, and upon seeing Angel in the town for the very first time, he falls head over heels with her instantly, and he believes Angel is that woman. Angel struggles with her own personal demons and a past figure that comes back to haunt her, all the while slowly falling for Michael despite her best efforts. That's about the gist of the story, and let me say, what got my attention to this film in the first place was finding out that Abigail Cohen was in the lead role. I became a fan of her work after she starred in Chilling Adventures of Sabrina as Dorcas the Witch, and you guys know how I feel about witches, well, you know.
Man, you wanna act up, get naughty in this bitch!
I wanted to give my thoughts on the film since, despite some very dark subject matter, it's ultimately a very beautiful story, and I figured it deserved to be reviewed on the show. You see, guys, I'm actually a huge softie at heart. I do like other films aside from just horror, exploitation, style action. Those are just my favorite types of movies to cover since I try to match that unhinged, psychosexual energy like a coked-up chimpanzee with a chainsaw. At least that's what I picture in my head when I start ranting like a fucking maniac. Also, if you're wondering why I'm censoring the curse words for this episode, it's because of two reasons. One, being a Christian romance movie, it feels more appropriate to bleep out the cursing, since it fits better with the overall episode in this particular case. And two, I find it really fucking funny to hear censor bleeps. So, to my loyal fans, don't you worry. I'm still gonna act like an unhinged psycho. The only difference is, I'm also going to show my real sensitive side at the same time in small doses, just to give this episode some extra heart. Aww. So take a listen to the audio for the preview of Redeeming Love.
Told your mother I would take good care of you.
I love you more than anyone in this whole wide world.
Her mom was dead. She'll be better off here.
No, she won't.
What's her name? You can call her whatever you want. You'll be my little angel from now on.
Angel, how did you end up in this place?
She doesn't talk about her past.
You got any big plans?
Plans? She can't keep me here.
You forget where I found you, Missy. I made you a princess.
Feel the power, Angel.
The only girls who leave here are too old, too sick to work, or dead.
I'm gonna kill you.
You are not hidden.
She's something to see, ain't she?
There's never been a moment you were forgotten.
That's Angel.
You are not hope.
No one gets within a foot of her for free. I have to meet her.
What's your pleasure, mister?
I didn't come here for that.
I hear you whisper underneath your breath.
You're gonna marry me. Take me away from here. Give me the life I deserve. I've got too many demons. I don't know how to love.
You do not choose the life you have, but you can choose the life you want.
He deserves a decent girl, not you.
Did you think I couldn't find you?
You have to stop thinking that I'm gonna be something that I'm not.
That way is home. Your choice.
I will rescue
Alright, Redeeming Love, directed by DJ Caruso and starring the absolutely beautiful Abigail Cohen as Angel.
You're just too good to be true. Can't take my eyes off you.
Tom Lewis as Michael Hosea, who's really bringing out the Handsome McGee vibes over here. Logan Marshall Green, aka alternate universe Tom Hardy as Paul, brother-in-law of Michael. Nina Dobrev as May, Angel's mother, and she's mommy, all right, looking fine as wine. Sorry, I don't know what came over me. I just had to get that out of my system. Anyway, Eric Dane as the biggest piece of human shit, Duke, Angel's former pimp and child slaver, and I'll get to this fucking prick soon enough, oh my god. Famke Janssen as the Duchess, another lowlife wannabe uppity hoity-toity egotistical scumbag who plays the madam of the brothel Angel works at. And finally, Brandon Yarrett, I cannot pronounce his fucking guy's name, Brandon something, as McGowan, the bodyguard and brainless muscle for the Paradise Brothel. Another piece of living shit. There's a few other characters I'll get to later, but these are the main cast of characters. I'm gonna jump around. I'm not doing it in chronological order when it comes to the story. So let me start off with Angel's backstory that is shown throughout the film, since the movie takes the flashback approach when showing her story. So, first off, Angel's real name is Sarah, and when she was a little girl around 8 years old, she lived with her mother May in a cottage with a servant, and she seemed to be pretty well taken care of. Sarah's biological father is a very wealthy man by the name of Alex Stanford, who's been supporting them financially and who is already married with kids, and May is his mistress, and this guy is such a prick. He straight up hates his daughter and says she never should have been born and just wants May, which poor little Sarah overhears one day when he's visiting. And then to make matters worse, he cuts them off financially and Sarah and May lose the house, have to sell off all their possessions, and eventually run out of money and live in a shack by a pier where May is forced into prostitution just to survive. She soon gets very sick and dies, and her scumbag boyfriend she met at the pier, she makes him promise he'll take care of little Sarah, and the first thing this fucking guy does as soon as May dies, he sells Sarah into slavery to Duke, this high society pimp in Boston, who has the scumbag killed in front of little Sarah, where he renames her Angel, and at the age of 8, she's turned into a prostitute. About 10 years later, when she's about 17 or 18, out of all the people who goes into Duke's brothel, who comes in? Guess who? Angel's biological father, or in this case, sperm donor, Alex, and he approaches Angel, who he says reminds her of someone he knew, and Angel recognizes him instantly and comes up with a really disturbing revenge plan. She has sex with him, and afterwards, she reveals to him who she really is, and that she's his daughter, causing him to absolutely flip the fuck out and immediately kill himself afterwards. Angel then escapes Duke's brothel and hightails it on the ship to California, where to get money, she prostitutes herself to fellow shipmates and crew members, which makes the other 2 female prostitutes on the ship jealous, and as soon as Angel steps foot off the ship, she gets badly beaten up by the 2 other prostitutes, and they steal all her money and just leave her bloody in the streets. Angel gets discovered by the Duchess, a brothel owner for the town of Paradise, and convinces Angel to work for her there, where Angel gets like 20% and Duchess pockets the rest. Angel agrees for just shy of a year. She's been working at the brothel at Paradise, and that's where the story really begins. I gotta say, Angel's backstory is so depressing and heartbreaking, you immediately become sympathetic to her. And I don't know about you guys, but it made me want to beat the absolute bricks out of Duke with my bare hands. This guy is literally the lowest form of life. He's a fucking disgusting child sex slaver who shows zero remorse for what he's doing. And the most disturbing thing about his character is the fact that there's real life people out there like him out in the world to this very day who's just abusing kids and women without even hesitating or questioning it. More on Duke later. Piece of shit. Alright, let me chill out and remember my blood pressure. Holy shit. Now, I want to talk about Michael. This guy right here has the patience of a saint. He's just this 26-year-old farmer who's very religious and faithful, and in the beginning of the film has him in church alone praying for God to send him a wife to share his farm and life with and to have kids with someday, right? Lo and behold, he goes into the town of Paradise the very next day, and who does he see walking down the street? Angel, accompanied by her scumbag bodyguard McGowan, and for Michael, it's love at first sight. And he believes this is the woman God put in his life to be his wife. So he's talking to the shopkeeper, asking about her, and the shopkeeper drops the bomb on him about how she's the most popular prostitute in the valley, which I want to pause and say something. Just put yourself in Michael's shoes for a second. You're a very religious, hardworking, down-to-earth man or woman, right? You pray to God for a wife or husband, and you get your sights on someone, and in your heart of hearts, you know that's who God picked for you, and then you find out, bam, they're a prostitute with a polar opposite lifestyle from yours. Now, this is not to judge people who are into sex work or anything at all. I'm actually a very open-minded person, and I don't judge. What I'm saying is this. You gotta admit, that's really funny if you're in Michael's shoes, which Michael himself says out loud, God, you have a sense of humor. That is something I also believe in my heart about the man upstairs. When he wants to be funny, he's the best jokester there is. After all, he did create stand-up comedians, so he's definitely got jokes. I mean, hell, he created me, so he 100% has a sick sense of humor, unleashing me upon this world.
What is that? What the fuck is that?
So Michael repeatedly pays the Duchess to spend 30 minutes with Angel night after night after night, not for having sex, but to ask her to marry him and try to get to know her a little bit. The very first time he introduces himself to her, he enters her room and she's naked with just her hair covering her chest. And once again, I have to give Michael props because Abigail Cohen looks like a goddess. So if I was in Michael's shoes and she was offering herself to me like that, I would have folded like a fucking lawn chair. Anyway, she brushes off his proposals every single time and doesn't like him asking her questions. Meanwhile, the other prostitutes living in the brothel with her are jealous of the attention Michael is giving Angel, since Michael is giving off young daddy vibes.
But daddy is a state of mind, you know what I'm saying? I'm your daddy.
And they want to break off a piece of that ass. Can't blame them since the vast majority of men they get are really crude, thoughtless, drunk minors. Speaking of the other prostitutes, I gotta say, while Abigail Cohen is the most beautiful woman in the movie, at least in my opinion, the other women really shouldn't be jealous since they're absolutely stunning too. There's Lucky, the hard-drinking Irish prostitute, who's a friend of Angel. She's played by Jamie Lee O'Donnell, and let me tell you something. She's truly a stunner, and I find it funny since the movie tries to make her be this past her prime crude drunk, but it's impossible to think of her character that way when she's just that stunning and looks well groomed despite her alcoholism. Also, her breasts were about to pop out of her corset and blouses every single scene she's in, which just had me like,
Just put it in my mouth. Oh.
Good for her. Also, I found her Irish accent very cute and endearing. Every time she talked and stopped, I said, no, please, keep going. Then there's these two other prostitutes. One's a really charming black woman named Rebecca, and this elegant and fancy-dressed Asian woman named Mei Ling. And I'm just wondering in my head, how the fuck did all these beautiful women end up in this god-awful brothel, which the one named Mei Ling does touch upon for her, and that her piece of shit father sold her into slavery when she was a little girl. Seriously, what is with these god-awful fathers and men in this movie? Michael is a saint, but even without his faithfulness and his amazing patience, it wouldn't be hard to look like one when compared to a great chunk of the male characters in this film. Which leads me to another scumbag character, McGowan, the brothel bodyguard. This guy is a raging psycho who's just aching to kill. Now, I'm about halfway into the book that this film is based on, and in the book, they have this segment where Mei Ling, one of the prostitutes, displeased the Duchess one too many times, right? So she sent McGowan to her room one night, and since then, she hasn't stepped out of line and has been noticeably more quiet, with the implication he beat and possibly raped her. In the movie, during one scene of her at the breakfast table, she's being completely quiet and has a bruise on her face, which sort of implies that they kept that in the movie, just that it happened off screen. And one of the hardest scenes to watch in the movie was after Angel has an argument demanding her gold from the Duchess so she can leave and have a home for herself, which the Duchess won't budge on. She has McGowan take Angel to her bedroom. He throws her on the floor and starts taking off his clothes to rape her, when Angel starts laughing at him and insults him, which pisses him off so bad to the point he just starts viciously beating her. And thank God the camera pans away after the first punch, where while you don't see the other blows, you can hear them, and they sound really brutal and honestly unnerving. So Michael goes there the next morning to see poor Angel and finds her in bed horrifically beaten and bruised, and he pays off the Duchess for her freedom and asks her once again to marry him, which she says, sure, why not? So they get married off screen since the fellow prostitutes were at the doorway and overheard, and they ran to grab a priest and he puts his mother's ring on her finger. He takes her home and puts her in bed to heal to take care of his new wife. Now, I want to pause and address some criticism of this particular aspect of the story. I know some people criticize the way he got her to say yes, claiming, well, she wasn't in the right mind after being beaten horribly and only said yes because of what happened, to which I say, while I do understand that to a certain point, I really don't think that was Michael's intention, especially when you factor in a few things, namely, if she stayed there, she was going to die, since ain't no way Duchess was going to get her properly taken care of. I mean, come on now. Michael didn't force any decisions upon her afterwards when she was fully coherent and after being in a coma for almost 3 days when he got her home, and she was aware of their marriage. And when she heals enough to be able to walk, she leaves on foot and Michael confronts her about it and leaves her to decide if she wants to go back to Paradise, to the brothel, or home with him. And she willingly chooses to go back to Michael, and he doesn't judge her, act domineering towards her whatsoever. He teaches her how to tend the farm and to cook, where they slowly start to bond, which honestly was pretty heartwarming. Overall, I really think Michael had the best of intentions when asking her to marry him, when he found her beaten and in bed at the brothel, and didn't intend to come across as taking advantage of the situation at all. So I think while he definitely should have taken her out of that place, at the same time, I do agree he should have waited until she was healed enough to not jump on any decisions, which honestly is his only real mistake and flaw in the situation. And even factoring that in, when she left, again, he let her decide if she wanted to stay with him or go back to the brothel. So ultimately, I really think his approach, while flawed, had nothing but good intentions. So I give him at least that. So things are looking good for Michael and Angel until Michael's brother-in-law, Paul, shows up after being out of town for work. He's the widowed husband who married Michael's younger sister, Tess, and he's pretty much fallen on hard times and he's in a depression, but he's a fucking prick towards Angel, who he recognizes as Paradise's former top prostitute, and he makes her feel like shit, saying Michael deserves a good woman, and he pretty much calls her a whore. Angel and Michael talk, and he brings up that he wants kids with her, and we get a really sad flashback of when Angel was enslaved to Duke. She got pregnant at one point, and the fucking bastard had a doctor perform an abortion against her will and a procedure to prevent her from getting pregnant again. And this all triggers Angel to leave Michael again, since she feels terrible and insecure about not being able to give him kids. So she hitches a ride with Paul, who's going into town for supplies, and about halfway he demands she has sex with him as payment for the ride to town, which she does, and he's just the fucking worst. You know, I get that he's grieving over his wife and all, and Michael claims he was a good man before, but my God, man, he had no decency toward Angel or even Michael, who he claims is his bro, but he goes and has sex with his wife. Like, come on, what the fuck now? Something Angel even calls him out for when they get to town. So, Angel finds out her old brothel was burned down by the psychopathic McGowan. Both Lucky and Mei Ling, her prostitute buddies, unfortunately died in the fire, so that actually was pretty much a big bummer for me, because they were very nice. She goes back to prostitution in the salon. Did I say salon? saloon across from the old brothel, and Michael shows up and asks her point blank if she wants to stay there. She says no and goes home with him. That's when they really start to truly build a relationship together. And it actually gets some, wholesome moments together with him, tending the farm with Angel. They're cooking. They're with fishing and, doing all sorts of cute activities together. And it's actually really sweet, not gonna lie. Now, one day they meet a family consisting of husband John, his pregnant wife Elizabeth, their eldest daughter around Angel's age named Miriam, and another little guy who become their neighbors and good friends. Elizabeth gives birth and sees Michael playing with the baby with Miriam, and that brings up Angel's insecurity again about not being able to give him children, and believes Miriam is a better match for Michael due to that and Angel's backstory. Angel leaves again and leaves her wedding ring and a note for Miriam encouraging her to be with Michael, and Angel heads to San Francisco getting a job as a cook, and it's very successful until out of all the people to come back into her life, Duke finds her and has her restaurant burned down and gives her an ultimatum: either return as a prostitute for him or they will kill her boss, who she'd gotten really close to. She agrees and goes back to him where he set up shop in San Francisco, where he has a high society adult club, and one of the most disturbing low-key scenes in the film happens when Angel is taken to Duke's room with him to get ready for a performance at the club. So they go inside the room, and in Duke's bed is a literal child with the implication he's sexually abusing her. Once again, I'm gonna let the legendary Jim Cornette sum up my feelings perfectly about the character Duke. Take a listen to it.
Oh, God damn you, I hate you, motherfucker. I wish you'd just fucking drop over and burst into fucking flames. Damn you, just fuck you, go away and die and fuck you in the ass.
Thank you very much, Jim. And yeah, Duke is such a disgusting human being and such an easy character to hate in the film. And he's just a fucking living, breathing, walking apology from the abortion clinic. His mother should have swallowed him. It would have made the world of the film a tiny bit better. So Angel finally regains her faith in God again and gets the courage and strength to get up on stage and expose Duke for being a child slaver and pedophile to the entire club, and tells them he has two little girls in the back he's holding against their will and sexually abusing. Duke tries to calm the crowd down and tell them it's all lies and takes Angel to the back to kill her, but a man from the crowd comes in and stops him, so Angel goes to the other room to rescue the little girls and runs out the club in full view of everyone, revealing the truth to them, and they get so pissed and outraged they chase Duke's ass outside the club and hang that son of a bitch dead. Rest in piss, motherfucker. We then get a time skip of 3 years, and Angel opened up a safe haven for young girls to escape prostitution and homelessness, and one day Paul shows up, a sober and changed man, and reveals to Angel he was the one who ended up marrying Miriam, and Michael is still waiting for her after all this time. He also begs for Angel's forgiveness and shows true remorse for what he did, and Angel forgives him. We cut to the farm where Michael is working, and Angel shows up, and they reunite as husband and wife. The film ends with a final scene with a few years later, and they're blessed with a miracle and have a child of their own as the film ends. Now, let me say I really liked this movie a lot. I thought the story, despite how dark it got, ultimately was beautiful and hopeful at the end. All the characters are casted perfectly for the role. Michael was a good man who wanted to share his life with that special someone, don't we all? Paul was a depressed asshole who turned his life around and found someone new to love. McGowan was a fucking psychopath whose head I wanted to punt like a frickin' football for laying his hands on my wife. Angel. Yeah, that's what I meant. Duchess was egotistical, narcissistic, and just a huge bitch who thinks she's hot shit for some reason. And Duke is a disgusting pedo who got what he deserved. And finally, Angel, herself played by Abigail Cohen. Well, I think this sums it up perfectly. She She's so sympathetic with such a tragic backstory, but in spite of it, she rises out of the darkness and finds happiness and love with not just Michael, but more importantly, herself. There is one criticism I have, though, and it's about the final scene in the movie. Now, I hate to be that guy, but when it showed that Angel and Michael had a kid together upon first view, I was very happy and I thought it was great. Upon second view, while I still think it's happy and good, I can't help it but scratch my head and say, Wait, I thought that forced procedure that Duke had that doctor perform would stop her from having children. So how the fuck did they have one? I think Michael touched upon that in a throwaway line earlier in the movie when she said she couldn't have kids. When they were having that conversation, she revealed that whole horrible backstory and flashback, and he just says miracles can happen. But at the same time, again, I'm still like, huh? Also, is it just me or does that kind of send mixed messages? I personally think that if they didn't have a child of their own, it would have been perfectly fine and they could have just adopted one of the girls at Angel's missionary place. She started that way, it would feel more justified. Them having a kid makes it come across as a bit of a stretch. I admit this is a nitpick and it doesn't lower my love of the film at all. I just feel that either them not having a kid or them adopting one would have been just as good or better. I bet people listening right now are saying, "Jeez, Adam the movie guy is just shitting on miracles happening." And I don't mean to, but at the same time, you can't really disagree with me about questioning the logic of her giving birth after the procedure. Unless there's a simple solution aside from a miracle and that the doctor was just incompetent. But again, like I said, it is a nitpick, and overall, I really enjoyed this movie, and it's nice to step outside my usual horror, action, or exploitation genre to cover something different for a change. Now, as for the score for the movie, I will award it 4 angels out of 5. I really enjoyed it and would recommend people give it a watch. Well, guys, this is the end of the show. I really hope you enjoyed me yapping about another movie and covering something different, like a religious-based movie in this case. You see, guys, I'm not a heathen. I'm just fucking insane. Big difference. This has been Adam the Movie Guy, and I'll see you next episode.